Hey friends, my name is Vincent and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're completely new. And today I have finally a tutorial for you guys. I know my last videos have been unpacking videos, so I thought it would be finally time to give you a tutorial. And a lot of people have been asking me how I'm gonna do my dioramas and stuff like that. And since I'm currently working on a really big diorama, I thought it would be fun to show you a little what I'm using, how I'm gonna do it, and stuff like that. So I'm currently working on this giant project. As you can see, it's giant. It's about like a feet long, and it's supposed to be a magical forest at the end with like my Pegasus herd, and there's water on here, and then there's a dragon on here and stuff like that, and they get attacked by the dragon, whatever. So for my dioramas I use a material called Styrodur. It's actually quite equal to styrofoam, just like the name says, but styrofoam is like out of these little balls, so it's like really hard to work or to shape. And this material is actually like completely solid. I don't know if you can see it because my camera is not focusing on it at all, but it's solid, and that's why it's so easy to work with. And I just cut this piece out of the giant board. So as you can see, I've been already working on the diorama because I already shaped out stuff, because this is where the water is gonna be. And I actually have this plastic water from one of Schleich's wildlife sets, which I cut on both sides, so it's actually flat, so it fits on here perfectly. As you can see, I've been shaping out this area with this tool, and I glued on these rocks right here, and I have multiple little rocks that I'm gonna paint and then glue on later on, which I already shaped out of the material. So just a little demonstration. This is the material, and that you can see how soft it actually is. This is the tool I'm gonna use, and if my camera would be focusing, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna shape out stuff so it looks like it's a rock. So I'm not even quite sure what exactly I'm gonna do. I don't know if you can see it. Just like shape it out and don't make it look too made, just make it look natural, and it's gonna be a huge mess in your room. Yeah, go in deeper and stuff like that. And as you can see, it's like really easy to work with and to shape and to cut out. And then I also sometimes use, which I used for the ground of the diorama, because this is actually was flat, so I used actually a lightener to shape a little bit of the ground so it's not like super flat. I don't know if you can see it. I'm just gonna like slightly go over the surface, sometimes like stop a little bit, and then it's going in deeper. And I did this like in different perspectives and stuff like that, so I turned it around and did it all over that areas. Anyways, if you shaped your diorama the way you want it, and if you shaped your rock, the next thing is going to be to spray paint it, and that's what I'm gonna do now. Okay, so I let the diorama dry for like a couple of days to really make sure it's completely dried, and I think it took me about 2 to 3 layers to spray paint the whole thing. As you can see, I used like a really thin layer of white already on the water area, because this one will be painted, of course, differently. And next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paint the mountain areas, meaning this one, but also some areas on here, black, to be able to dry brush them to look like mountains. And I'm gonna explain you later on how dry brushing is working. It's actually really easy. And then I'm of course going to paint this one like water and acrylic greenish bluish colors. I'm also gonna paint black all these little mountains that are made that's going on top later on the board, and I'm not really quite sure where they are going yet. So they're gonna be painted black as well. And since I don't want to bore you how I paint these black, I'm just gonna skip ahead to the dry brush technique now. So now I'm going to show you with this little stone how I'm going to do the dry brush technique to make them look like real rocks. So for the dry brush technique, you need to have the darkest possible color, which is in most cases like completely black. Just like the name says, you need a dried brush. So I have like a dried brush here, and I'm only using like black and white to make it look like a stone. So I have like some dark gray mix right here. And then I'm just going to rub off some of the paint, so there's like just a little paint still in there. And all I'm going to do is I'm going slightly over the rock. So it's coloring all the upper areas and not the dark, like the lower areas, which will stay black. And that's how it's gonna look more realistic and three-dimensional at the end. And you might not see like a big difference right now because it's still really darkish, but it does has a grayish touch now. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go lighter and lighter and mix lighter gray tones until I'm like to a really light gray, and then I'm doing like really slightly white as highlights. And you don't want to push the brush too much on the stone or on the object, because as more you push, as much color will be on the object, and you don't want to have a lot of color on the object because you want it to dry real fast. Because that's the one thing about the dry brush technique, you really need to wait until every layer is dried, because otherwise the layers will mix into each other, and then the whole thing will gonna be painted in one color, and you want to build up layers, so you really have to wait until it is dried, which doesn't take too much time, because as you can see I'm just using a little bit of color and brush it over, and then I'm just gonna wait a little and continuing with all the layers. And yeah, I'm just gonna show you all the layers I'm doing, and it hopefully will look good at the end. So now I'm going to paint the water, and the water will not be painted in the dry brush technique. It will be completely normally painted, and for the water I'm using, of course, a blue, a white and a black to lighten it up and to darken it. I'm using a little bit of green because sometimes water have like a greenish touch. And I'm also using this cream color to make the water look a little bit dirty. I basically don't have really a tutorial on how to paint water. I'm just gonna paint it the way I think it will look good. However, you need to consider that when I have like the plastic stuff on top, which will make it look like water, you need to paint the deep areas and the light areas of the water. So that means I'm going to paint like the middle areas darker than the outside areas, because these areas, like for water, will be closer to the sunlight. So these areas outside will be lighter again as these areas around that mountain, and the middle area will be painted in a darker blue color, and I hope you can see it once it's completely painted. So yeah, let's do this. Okay, so now the whole thing is sprayed with a matte finishing to secure the color, and I also sprayed the rocks I made separately with like a matte finishing spray as well. And as you can see, I already put the water in here. Okay, so now we are off to grass making. So we're gonna spray the whole thing with spray paint, and then I'm going to put grass on top of it. And I'm trying to not cover all the painted area with grass. So I'm trying to leave them a little bit rocky still. And for that I'm using this grass powder thing. And it's more like, it's not really a powder, it's more like there are tiny little blades of grass in here. So it's like for model building only. You probably won't be able to tell, but they're like these little grass blades. I don't know. Because I know that Michael has some grass powder stuff, but it's not the thing I'm using right now. And I actually got this amazing thing secondhand at a flea market, and I'm not even quite sure what this one is called in German, so I'm not even able to translate it into English. But you can lift this thing up, and then you put in the grass stuff in here, put this lid on again, and then you're just gonna push out the grass, and it will like really fast go onto the board or whatever you want to cover in grass. And when you reveal this pump thing, it will suck in air and therefore will help the grass to stand up straight, because real grass is like standing up straight, right? So if you have this powder stuff and you're just gonna pour it on top like that, it will lay flat, so it won't look realistic like grass. So someone really smart invented this thing, and it really helps to make the grass stand up on your diorama, and therefore it will definitely look more realistic. Okay, once you did that, now you're ready for the most fun part, the decorating. And honestly, there is like no rule how to decorate your diorama to make it look the most natural. So I'm just gonna tell you what I'm using. And the main thing is probably that you should have in mind is that nature is not perfect, because we humans tend to make everything look perfect. So make sure that your diorama, whatever you decorate, looks random, because sometimes we don't even realize it, but when we glue something on or whatever, we make them in the perfect order or organize them after the size or have them with a perfect distance of each other. So make sure it really does look random. And I sometimes just use stuff and I pour it on like this, because this way it will look definitely random. So what I'm going to use to glue it on, I have two different glues right here. This one isn't that strong as this one, but I mainly use this one because this one is clear and it will dry clear. This one is white and it's supposed to dry clear as well, but I don't really trust it that much. And I use this tool to, which you can't see, like glue on some little stuff. For decorating, I always try to use like at least 50% like bought stuff and 50% of the stuff I find in nature, because you don't really have to buy that much to make your diorama look amazing, because you can use pretty much everything you can find outside your house. Whenever there's a storm, everyone is crying, but I'm actually really happy because this means I can go and look for branches and other stuff. So just go for a walk and collect whatever you want, because I actually have like a bag right here with a lot of flowers and other stuff that I found in nature, and let it dry, and then after a while, when it's completely dry, you can use it for your diorama. So just go outside and look for stuff, because I actually have like this bag full of dirt and stone. Then I have like some sand right here. Then I have some stones that I found outside, some stones that I actually bought, and then I have this amazing stuff which is like from, if you cut wood, I don't even know how you call it in German, so I don't even know. This is amazing. This is what I'm using to make the final touch, to pour it on top, because yeah, it just will make your diorama look more realistic. And what I would suggest is that you put some sand over your whole diorama and then some of these, and then you can start decorating with like rocks and stones and stuff like that. Okay, moving on to the board stuff. I've got these at a hobby shop and these at a hobby shop, and this one is actually quite amazing because it is stick together, so you can actually like kind of sculpt it. I don't know if you can tell, but they are not like this, because these are like little clouds if you want to, because you can like this, like rip it apart, and then you can decorate whatever you want. Because I'm definitely going to decorate some stones as well. I'm just gonna glue on some of this grass to make it look more realistic, because there's like some grass stuff on stones as well. So cover everything pretty much, but of course not too much, but yeah, you know what I mean, right? Then I have this amazing stuff, and again, I'm not even quite sure what this one is called. I'm mainly using this for like water areas. This is like so big. Like I used this for like the last 5 years, and I barely even used it because there's so much. But yeah, you can use this for like water areas or whatever, because it's like really easy to release. You're just gonna press right here under it, and then you have like these little bushes, however you want to call them, and then you can just glue them on. They are a little tricky to glue on because in the process of the glue drying, they are falling down quite often. So use something to secure their gluing straight, and yeah. Now off to my favorite part, some little grass bushes that I bought. This one is like from Green Line, and I have two different ones. I have one that is like really darkish green, and one that is like more of a yellowish, I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, basically they are like these little grass areas that you won't be able to tell because my camera will not focus on this little stuff, I guess. And then you're just gonna put some glue on the back of it, and then you glue it on grass areas, you can glue it on stones, you can glue it on everything, and this will make your grass look way more realistic, because of course these powder stuff that I'm using is like one color only. So if you put some grass things like every other whatever, it will make it look way more realistic. And then I actually just like recently bought these little flowers because I thought they would be super nice for like a fantasy diorama. So again, you're just gonna glue on the back of it. Oh, these are actually in one row. Stick it wherever you want. Again, just like random and not too human made. And this is basically all I'm using. Also really exciting, I actually bought some trees this time. I actually always make the trees for my dioramas myself. There are two different ways. I either just use branches that I can find in my yard and turn them into trees, or I can make them out of wire. I can make a tutorial on that if you want to, but I actually bought some trees for this diorama because it is supposed to be like a magical forest, so there should be a lot of trees, and since the diorama is so big and it's so much work already, I didn't want to make the trees myself as well. So I actually got them online on eBay. They were quite cheap for like 20 bucks, 26 of them, and they're different sizes, and as you can see, these are like full grown whatever, and these are like half grown to the ground, and then we have these which have like a lot of I don't even know how you call it, whatever. So yeah, what I'm gonna use is, they are actually like in 3 different heights already, but what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut some of these so they are actually quite smaller, and this will make the diorama have a few more layers of trees, so it doesn't look like they're all ending on the same level, and make it look more realistic. But honestly, I've never worked with these before, so I'm not even quite sure if I'm able to cut them. Yeah, we're just gonna see, I guess. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. That's what my diorama looks like at the end with the figures on them, and I am super happy with the outcome. I really like it. And yeah, I hope you learned something in this video. If there's something that I missed to explain, or you still have questions, leave them down in the comments below and I will make sure to answer them. And if you want any other specific tutorial, let me know in the comments as well. And yeah, if you enjoyed it, give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel, and I will hopefully see you very soon. Bye!